How does Prestonwood Baptist Church use visuals to reach the next generation? We'll talk about it today. Hey, ministry leader, welcome. If you are enjoying our podcast, please like and subscribe and share it with your friends, if you would. The gracious folks at Outreach have sponsored this season, allowing us to make it available to you completely free. So please visit them at outreach.com for signs, printed material, mailers, and more. Outreach.com is their website. All right, we're doing a case study this week with Prestonwood Baptist Church, specifically their kids and family area, to talk with them about why they want to do things with excellence. So how are they measuring their quality standards, especially when it comes to their visual media content? Why are they willing to not just skimp by? What is important to them when it comes to their digital media? All that is coming right up. Hey guys, I want to let you know about a great new resource from our friends at Outreach. The new invitation station provides your church with an easy way to encourage and equip your members to invite their friends and neighbors to church. The stations include a sleek black metal sign holder stand, an eye-catching 2x3 sign with messages like invite a friend or be the church, and 4 acrylic card holders that you can adhere to the sign and fill with invitation cards, all for only $147. Check them out today at outreach.com/invitation stations. That's outreach.com/invitation stations. This week, I welcome Adam Cox. Adam is the minister to children at the North Campus of Prestonwood Baptist Church. Prestonwood is one of the largest churches in America, with a membership of over 45,000 and a weekly attendance of around 17,000 on a weekend. By all measure, a mega church. Now on this podcast, I'm talking with ministry leaders in the trenches at smaller and larger churches. When I met Adam a couple of years ago, we met at a kids conference, and when he came on staff at Prestonwood, he reached out to me about how our team could help them with some visuals for their kids and student ministries. I wanted to have Adam on to talk through what Prestonwood values when it comes to graphics and videos. Here's my chat with Adam. My man, Adam Cox. Welcome, buddy. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Man, I'm so excited to be here with you, Carl. Man, I've been pumped about this for some time.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. I know we connected, probably 2 or 3 years ago at a Metro conference and just been kind of getting to know each other over the last few years. And you are now on staff at Prestonwood Church, and you're also the author of a very cool devotional book. Why don't you tell us a little bit about both?
Awesome, man. Yes, I've had the opportunity. God has called our family here. I've had the chance to serve in kids ministry for 20 plus years, and had the chance to be in Kentucky, Georgia, Arkansas, and now here at Prestonwood Baptist Church. And it's been a blessing. We got here last August, and it's been hitting the ground running, full speed ahead. And you mentioned our kids devotion. That was something that was awesome that Lord laid upon my heart, actually at the Metro conference, I believe the first time. I don't know if you were in Florida, but at that conference, and I had the chance just to talk. It's never ending, 52 devotions about God's faithfulness in the past, present, and future, dealing how God was faithful.
Do you have it around there in your office?
I actually do. So I do have a copy. That's right. Comes out May the 7th, and but it's just an awesome devotion for kids. Who better to write devotions than kids pastors and directors? We're with kids every single day. So is it you and other kids pastors as well? It is. So what was awesome behind that, I was sitting in a room with all of these other kids pastors and directors, and I thought, man, we always get asked every week, hey, what devotion would you recommend for my child? And I started thinking that, and I was like, there's not a lot of great ones out there, and I'm not saying this is great. I'm biased, I'll say that. But what was funny was I was like, man, these people are constantly with kids every day and serving kids. I was like, who better to help write one than these people? So God has always talked, he's been faithful in Bible times, and he has been faithful in today with kids, and he'll be faithful in the future. And what's funny is everybody tells a story, and they tell a story from their childhood, something that kids love stories. They love to hear that you went through the same things that they went through when they were a child. And I've learned that being on stage. I always try to tell stories about myself, and kids relate to that. So every author in there tells a story, and then it follows up with a biblical same thing, how somebody went through something very similar, and then how God's faithful back then. He's faithful during when we were a child, and then he'll be faithful in the future also.
Well, I'm proud of you, man. It takes a lot of work to do something like this. And people think, oh, we can just throw it together. It takes a lot of work to write, to get everything together, the artwork and the distribute. I mean, everything that's involved. And so good for you, man. I'm excited.
I appreciate it, man. Yes. And when you say a long time, 2 years it takes.
There you go. Yep.
I can throw that out.
Yep, I believe it. Well, man, we've had some great times just over the last few weeks. In fact, just kind of dreaming up some things together. And so, man, I wanted to thank you for that, because I love people that have a heart for ministry, that really want to see people come to know the Lord and be discipled. And you're that in spades. And so, man, I appreciate dreaming together with you, just on the phone, not just as ministry partners together. We do some work for you guys, but just as a friend in ministry. So, man, thank you for that. Really appreciate your friendship.
Man, I appreciate that more than anything. And we have had a lot of conversations over the past couple of months, and many more coming in the future also. So I appreciate you and everything that you guys have done, and just your friendship, man. It's hard getting to meet people and have those relationships. And that's one that I know I can pick up, and you'll answer and just sit to pop ideas off of each other.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. All right, so I want to kind of get into why visuals matter, especially to kids and students. You've worked with kids for a long time in kids ministry, and now you're overseeing, and I'm sure you have in the past, but overseeing staff that is serving in kids ministry as well. So let me kind of ask you in general, why do you think that visuals matter when it comes to kids, students, not just to entertain, that's not what I'm getting at, but to communicate? How can we use visuals as a means to communicate the gospel to them?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a great question. I started thinking back on this, and visuals are so important because they help kids engage their attention. And you hit a point. We know that visuals aren't the only thing that matters. I think that we have to get the groundwork of what we're teaching to kids and make sure that it's solid in that teaching, and all those things that we know need to be ahead. And then adding visuals on top of that kind of just adds that cherry on top to make things just blossom even more, as we'll say. But now we know that kids nowadays, and I've seen this in ministry, they are wired to be visual learners. Everywhere you look and everywhere we see, kids are entertained. Entertainment's stepping it up. I can remember when I first started in ministry, I never would see a kid with an iPhone or a phone. And now it's like every kid has one. And now it's an Apple Watch. And so those things are stepping up, and there are so many visual things that grab kids' attentions now. And kids learn. What I'm beginning to see is kids are learning today has drastically changed from those 10 years ago. Kids nowadays are wired, like I said, to be visual learners. And I think we have to step up what we do visually and help teaching them to help them grow in their relationship with Christ. And I think that they know what quality is. That's the thing I've noticed too. Before, I used to be able just to, you could do I'm going to throw old school, but clip art stuff. And, a lot of people know that, and it would help. Nowadays, man, they know, kids know what excellence looks like because they see it everywhere.
So are we in a fight? I get this question a lot. Are we in a fight quality-wise with a Disney, with a YouTube, are they comparing us and our quality at the church with streaming platforms and other things that they're watching at home and other places? What do you think about that?
I would agree. I really think so. I mean, if we look up, and I forgot the statistics, but if you look up and see how much Disney and how much all of these organizations are putting towards entertainment of kids, I mean, it is astronomical the amount of money that they are spending. I mean, like before, I like to look back, 10, 15 years ago, visuals were not as crazy as they are today. I mean, if you think about it, kids were outside playing. There were a lot more activities. And I'm not saying that kids still are doing those things, but now we know that the percentage of kids that are on a device is so high. And I think that now the quality, they have to reach there to keep those kids' attention. Sadly, we have to have the visuals be so much more to keep kids' attentions nowadays. So I think we can, it's a plus and it's a negative in what we can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, I think it's incredible the things that you guys are doing at Prestonwood to reach kids and students in this area. You guys believe in quality. You believe that it's worth it to reach the next generation. Maybe tell me some examples of what you guys have been doing, maybe from a graphics and video standpoint, of some examples that you guys have done at Prestonwood.
Yeah, and I'm blessed to be able to be at a church like this. I mean, Prestonwood has a long history of excellence in our graphics and our videos for kids, from preschool all the way up to kids and even student ministry. I always like to tell people they've always wanted to take it to the next level to help communicate the gospel to kids. And every Sunday, Wednesday, even our Adventure Week, which is what we call VBS here, they create our own videos for that content, and we are actually working on that right now, scripts, getting ready to film that and start editing that and how it can tie into our Adventure Week. But we've been blessed here. I mean, to be honest, with creativity and imagination. And that's what I love. I love to create. I love to imagine and see those things come to life. We can sit in meetings and brainstorm and shoot ideas off of each other. And there are some crazy things, but then we sit back and we're like, can we do this? Yes. And we look at why, because it helps kids understand the gospel and it helps them to just communicate it in a better way. So it's been a blessing to be able to be part of that and see that each week. It was a blessing. We even pulled you guys in to help us with a project, and just being able to bring wild things to you guys, and you'd be like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can try. Yeah.
So let's use one of those projects as an example. So we worked on your Body of Proof series. This was for kids and for students. Mm-hmm. So we did a design for kids and then a different design for students, and then the video deliverables and other deliverables off of that. So let's kind of use that as a case study for maybe the creative process. What were you guys thinking for it? Why did you seek out somebody like us? What I'm trying to get at is other ministries, is it worth the time, investment, creative process to not just use ready-made stuff, which is great. We produce it. We want you to use it. But to kind of make a shift to custom to really deliver the message that you're trying to deliver. It's a bullseye. You can create from scratch what you want. So maybe kind of walk that process out for me.
Yeah, what I would say, this was a little different, and it helps to give context into why all this came about. So we are working actually, and we are in the process of creating a 6-year curriculum here at our church. In 2025, we are going to be starting our own curriculum and going from scratch, and kind of we've compiled it over the years. We have a lot of that, so we've been compiling all that in Excel sheets and been laying that out and having meetings about that. And we've actually started planning in 2023, getting ready for 2025 to release it. So we've been planning far ahead. We actually just finished up all of 2025. The third week of April. So we finished that up. and getting ready to start on all that creative style of that. But how Body of Proof came about, one of our pastors wrote the whole book for Body of Proof, and it was the beginning of the year, and it kind of came to our table and said, hey, we would like to see this from kids all the way through adults doing the same thing 4 weeks leading up to Easter. And so we sit down and they were like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? We had all the stuff. We had to rewrite all the stuff for the kids because it was for adults. So we changed that up and got that wrote for kids. And then we sit down and we were like, what are we doing creatively? We've got to make this pop for the kids. And what happened, and I hate to say this, it was we knew that we had to do 4 weeks. We had nowhere that we had started for that. And I was sitting in a meeting and I said, hey guys, I know somebody that possibly can get this done and get this completed and that can help us out and it can be a blessing. And that's where Church Visuals came up. I knew I had Carl and I knew we had that relationship and that friendship. And I knew that we would be looking also in 2025 of somebody to help us with that 6-year scope and sequence, because I know when you create your own stuff, one person can't do it. It is way too much for that person to take on. So we needed that Body of Proof stuff done pretty quickly. And that we knew that you guys had a whole team that could help us to pull that off and to create that. So, with that, this was a new project, a short time frame. We needed you guys to help us. And it was a big feat, to be honest, to be able to do that. So you mentioned the creative process on all that and how some of that happened. I always laughed whenever you think of that. There was a lot of calls, a lot of texts, and a lot of emails. And there was a lot more calls and a lot more texts and a lot more emails. I mean, then that's how that creative, you mentioned at the beginning of this show that we were in a lot of communication. And we've been in a lot of just reaching back and forth saying, all right, guys, here's Body of Proof. We know it's Easter. Do we want the typical tomb? Do we want, how do we want to reach this to this age group? How do we want to convey what we're learning and what we want the kids to learn? And, we looked at the book a lot, sitting back, and we kept coming back to how that diagram or that photo visually, and then we kind of made it for kids and made it creative for kids and made it something that was popping an eye visual that they could help relate to. Because what was awesome is Jeremiah Johnson, who wrote Body of Proof, went over to Israel and actually filmed a lot of that for the book, and we had snippets of videos. So we wanted it to be like the graphics to relate to what they're seeing in the videos, but also what they've seen. That we want it to be as real as we can, but for a kid that can reach a kid. So that process started there. There were some ideas that were popped out we didn't think would be the right way and the right fit until we honed in, and then we started just tweaking it more and more and more and more. And I thought it came out awesome for the kids in the amount of time that we had. Yeah.
So speaking of that relationship, I think in talking with ministry leaders, if you're going to outsource, and I'd love for you to, you have spoken to this, so maybe you can speak more to it, is if you're going to outsource and not have an in-house team, which I think they need to work together. Your in-house team, even if you have creatives, your in-house team needs to work with with the outsource team. But any outsource team that you work with from a church standpoint, I believe we take this approach that they need to understand ministry. They need to understand the church. I wouldn't get a non-believer to do your custom media work, because it takes the Holy Spirit inside to know the gospel and to know how to tell that story. Can it happen? Sure. But is it going to happen faster with somebody that is helping you communicate the gospel, not just create a cool graphic? Right. Would you agree with that?
I would. And what I would also expand on that is, one thing that was key for us is we wanted somebody who does creatively and create things for kids. Yeah, that's key too. I think a lot of times if you get somebody who is creating images for adults, maybe it's hard to relate in a kid because they're creating it in that mindset. That's what they do. But you guys also create for kids every day. So it's nice to have somebody that has that mindset going in of who is our target audience and how can we connect that and relate that to them. And that was a huge thing for us also.
Yeah. So with Body of Proof, and you mentioned it, like we delivered some comps, and it was like, let's tweak this direction. And so that's that. I want people to know that too, that the process is digging in the dirt together. It's this is not working. Let's try this, and let's work on this, and let's tweak it and get in the dirt together and start moving things around. That is the creative process, is communication back and forth so that we can all hit a home run.
100%. And, with this being one of our first big projects, we wanted, I was involved with that communication with you guys one-on-one, but then I would have to come back and then send those emails to our other campus and make sure what they thought, and our discipleship pastor and our next gen. And, hey guys, here's the thought, here's the theme, here's what we're looking at. I really like this. And then, they would agree, or, hey, can we change this? And then talking back and forth, communicating. And then once we found that, coming back to you and saying, all right, guys, here's our next step. Can we do this or that? And just creating something together. That communication was key to make sure we delivered a good product.
So let's talk about how it was used. So you have graphics, you have video content. Tell us how it was used in your environments, and then maybe the impact that it had.
Yeah, so I mean, it was used for everything, just like if you got a normal series. So we had it on our large group, as we would call, your large group settings or a worship time for kids. We used it on all of our screens there, but we also used it in small groups. We have TVs in our small group classes. We have all of our handouts, everything there had that Body of Proof and that theme that carried along for the kids. Another avenue, social media, we know is huge right now. So we put it out there to help get the word out for our parents, letting them know, even the follow-ups, even the what the theme is going to be. So when they saw that there was a new series coming up, hey guys, here's the new series that's coming up. We want to make sure your kids are here Sunday. It's going to be awesome. And pushed it out that from even games, countdown clocks, intro videos to introduce what the series is, just to give a small little trailer to the kids. We used it in every aspect of ministry that we could to deliver it to the kids.
Do you think it helped bring the gospel alive? Like, what was the impact from the kids' standpoint, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think when kids, they just, it helped to relate to kids, to help to understand the resurrection of Jesus and how it was central to our salvation. And that was the key. We want to make sure that we're not just doing this is an awesome graphic, a cool graphic, but why is it there? Why? Right. How does it relate to kids? And that's the key. And yes, absolutely, because it helped them to see it in their vision of what they're used to seeing and how that relates. So that was huge.
Yep. I think I'm a broken record when it comes to that, because I want to always take us back to the why. That Absolutely. It's not just about, did you guys save time? Yes. Did you guys look great? Yes. Is that the point? Is that the finish line? No. So we want to help you, and your goal is to see salvation happen in your kids, them come to know the Lord and grow with him. So that is the why. It's discipling kids of all ages to come to know Jesus and to serve him well. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Always want to keep that why in front of people. All right. So I want to talk about the transition from Readymade to custom. So I know that there are some times in you guys' ministry and other churches where Readymade pre-done stuff is a great option. I can pull down an easy social media graphic, tweak it, and shoot it out on my social accounts. Or I need a quick announcement graphic, or we need to get ahead one series, so let's take a series down and use that. There are times and places for that, absolutely.
100%.
But walk me to custom and why you guys have chosen to spend time, money, resources, staff, all of the things into custom media.
I think you answered the question in your question.
Probably
to be honest, you said it, time, staff, and resources. that's going to be key. A lot of times we don't have the time to put into the project that we need. We know that the church is always a fast paced and there's always something else coming. And like Body of Proof, that was kind of a last minute thing. We had to jump on it fast and be able to get it done. So we didn't have the time frame to do it. To pull off other people. We didn't have a lot of resources because we created a lot of moving objects. These weren't just your still images that some people don't know, but it was a lot of animation in some of our intro videos and things of that nature. So that takes time to do that and to create those things. It takes resources to do that. And then when you pull those people off of that, you're having also to spend that money to pull them off of a project. So it just helped us all around to create that and to move that along. I think a lot of times we don't have the time to put into a project that we need to make it excellent. I mean, and sometimes that lacks. So having somebody that can focus their attention on that, and then can help it to move it to that next spot.
But in theory, you could have pulled if you were in a time crunch, you could have pulled a Readymade project off the shelf and tweaked it. Is there a reason why you're like, we want to hone this just for us?
Absolutely. And I think it goes back to having one of our pastors who wrote the book, Body of Proof, and did the series. And then, we want to have it be custom to us, that it's special for our kids. So he already had the book and already had done a phenomenal job on that. And we wanted to be able to have it for the kids and have it be custom and special for them. And we didn't want to pull off something. I mean, this is, it was all created with you guys and in-house of what our vision was for that, of bringing that to you and saying, here's what we want. And yes, the ready-made stuff, we could have pulled some, but it would not have been what we wanted to help convey the gospel to the kids. So all 1,000 things great that we could have pulled from, but we wanted to go one more step above and make it to the pinpoint of what we were teaching our kids and to help convey the gospel as clearly and have everything be one thing and be the same, if we'll say that.
Great. All right, let's talk about quality. So This is kind of maybe vague or kind of preference even. So what makes something quality? How do you know the difference in a bad graphic or a good graphic? And can you articulate the difference?
So we know something is quality, I would say, when it meets or exceeds expectations. That, in my eyes, that's what I would say. A good graphic is clear. I would say it conveys what's being taught and it aligns with that theme and even resonates, we'll say, with the age group we're trying to reach. I would say a bad graphic, it's going to be cluttered. It's going to fail to convey that message or that theme. And does it hit your audience? That's the other thing. We want to make sure that graphic hits that age group we're trying to reach. And that's how I look. When I look at that graphic, I'm thinking of those things. Does it convey what's being taught? Does it align with our theme? Is it going to resonate with that age group?
Do kids, and we mentioned this earlier, do kids know the difference? And does quality matter to kids?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like we said, they're constantly on devices. They see quality. And if it's not quality for them, sadly, they're not going to pay attention. They're going to tune out and go to something else. So we've got to make sure we hit that sweet spot that we can keep their attention and help them in that learning process for those kids. So absolutely, they see that all the time. It makes me think back. I got a graphic once. I'm at another church and looked at it, and it was for kids, but it conveyed an older generation, we'll say. Mm-hmm. And it just was not going to resonate. So I knew when kids saw that, they would be like, it's very gold palm leaves and things like that. But we needed to be very vibrant and very popping, as I would say, to grab their attention and to help them to stay focused. So that's just a small little example, I would say, of that. But I think now sitting back and seeing kids and being with kids all the time, they know when something is good and when something's bad. We know that.
So, and I want to be careful with this question, but what would you say to a ministry leader who might be either doing their own graphics and video, and maybe it's the budget constraints of the church, maybe it's all the time that they have, or there might be multiple circumstances. But what would you express to a ministry leader who is thinking about taking a next step? Either that's ready-made media that I can pull off the shelf and tweak, or have us tweak, or moving to custom. How would you push them over the edge, or would you say no, stay where you are? Like where would you be on that frame?
That's it. You did. That is a difficult question. I would try to encourage them to reconsider it. I mean, what they're doing is great, and I think that there are some, like we mentioned before, there are some areas that we can use that can be great and that can help that in that ministry. But what I would say is, and I've said this a lot, kids see quality everywhere they look. It's all over it, everywhere. Everything we do in our ministry, we should be done to the highest standards. That's one of the things that we always say. I'll always tell our team, to whom much is given, much is required. We want to make sure that we are doing the best that we can in every aspect. So I mentioned at the beginning, we've talked a lot about quality and graphics and visuals. That is great, but we have to be doing quality and quality and greatness in teaching the gospel. I mean, it just can't be, hey, your graphics are there. If we've got all that other and we're doing that right, then we're just taking a little bit extra and making our graphics and all that visuals even more to help convey what we're already teaching and helping that to those kids. So I would hate, me personally, I would hate for a kid to come in and everything be great on Sunday, the teaching and all that, but the media elements are lacking, and then kids get distracted, and then they forget that message, or they forget that when that can help to piece two things together to help them in their learning.
Great point on both fronts, because visual, as we've said, visuals are a tool to help you communicate the gospel. This is not the end all be all. The relationship still needs to be there. Your teaching of the word still needs to be accurate and engaging. Like all of that still needs to be there. The visuals are just one component of that package that you're trying to communicate. Okay, so what would the ministry leader who's listening to you say? Well, you work for Prestonwood. I mean, of course, big churches. I mean, I just don't have the budget to do that, or I don't have the resources, the staff to do it. So am I at a loss? What would you suggest to somebody like that?
So what I would say is, once when people sit down and they ask those questions, they find out how easily it is to take that time and do it. To be honest, planning is key. When it comes to that, you can always plan ahead. One thing I've learned, even coming here even more, I thought I planned ahead, but we plan very far ahead. And even before, when I hate to throw this out, but even before COVID had made me become creative. It made me, I was already doing videos at a previous church, but then it took that level and made me even get more creative, because was sitting at home and I was like, how are we going to reach kids? That was the only way. So, what I would say to that is, a lot of how I became creative and started doing that was before that time, creating our own kids show. Was sitting in my office while everybody was, we were not in the office, and recording and then editing and figuring out that, watching YouTube videos and figuring out how to do, Photoshop and Final Cut, and looking at all these things to how we can make it better. And then that was a big point of a lot of people. So I thought, man, I can do some of this. And then it just made it easier, because then you guys started publishing stuff, and there were more online stuff so I could pull from and use. So what I would say is, I mean, you might not have the resources, but you can have the time to try to figure out how to do those things. And, there are 1,000 videos online and articles you can read. Literally, I am constantly always trying to stay fresh and up to date on new things of reading and saying, man, how did they do that? And then, can I do that myself? Like, we had a conversation last week, I believe, that was talking about a spinner on a screen. And I was like, okay, I know that they can do this. but can I figure out how to do this because it's going to help me in ministry longer, and that will also save money for our church. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, are there any plugins, or how would I do this? And I reached out to other friends, and that's the thing. There are people in churches around that want to help. There are people that are like, man, you might not be able to afford that. Well, hey, we have this graphic. Maybe this will help you, and share those ideas and thoughts and help. So the community is big. And what I've learned in kids ministry is everybody wants to help everybody, because we have one goal, and that's to reach kids with the gospel of Christ. So that's what I would say to that answer.
Yeah. And we're on the front lines. I mean, we're definitely on the front lines of our culture. We don't have time to bicker and fight between ourselves or compare or whatever. Like, let's go. We're one team in the trenches together. So agree with that. As far as your planning goes, how do you maybe talk about your themes and your scope? Are you more topical? Are you more, I want to say biblical, or do you do more books of the Bible? Or are you more topical in nature? What do you guys?
Yes. So that's kind of changing. Like I mentioned, we're in 2025 going to start our own curriculum and our 6-year scope and sequence. And for some time, we're going to start aligning what we're teaching our kids with our student ministry also. So there has been a lot of that planning sitting back. And like I mentioned, we have to plan so far out, because if you're going to write any curriculum or do that yourself, it's not like, hey, we're going to do this a month out and be able to have it. We've got to be able, and we've talked that when January hits in 2025, we need to have 3 months already completed, and they're already working on the next 3 months. So we're keeping that flow going constantly. So we're sitting down. So there's a lot of topical stuff that we're going to be doing, but there's also biblical context. We don't stay away from the Old Testament. We hit Old Testament, New Testament. We'll talk about spiritual disciplines going through. We're going to talk about, we just finished up Christmas. So we're like, what are we going to be teaching that Christmas series? So there's a wide range of what we're going to hit for kids and teaching that. So that planning, like I would say that we sit down even last year and planned out like, hey, the first 3 months, what do we want it to look like? And we sit down and said, this students, we're going to be doing this. This won't line up because they're moving. They have a special event. So we need to take off a week. How can we change that to make it connect? And then, so we sit down and have those discussions, and then, all right, what scripture, what, Bible, what scripture are we going to use? What's the main point we're going to use? What's the takeaways we want the kids to have? So we hit all that, and we come together as a team creatively. We sit down, and it's either on Zoom, all of us, or we're in a room together, and we're like, all right, here's the next 3 months. What are we looking at? Boom, we hit that. Then we sit down and we'll write, and then they come back and we'll share thoughts and ideas. And then after we completed that, it's like, hey guys, in so many weeks, we're going to look at the next 3 months. And then that gives time for everybody to start putting their thoughts and ideals together, and et cetera. So we have a great team though, man. I'm telling you, we have some great writers that help that we can bounce those thoughts off. And then we bring it to the team. It helps in that long run.
Yeah. Good. All right. So let's land on this thought.
Okay.
And we've kind of talked around a little bit, but I'll hit you with it again. So let's say a ministry leader is like, I've been listening to this, and I don't know, we don't really need all that flash and we're doing just fine with the kind of quality that we have. We're good to go. So maybe respond to that, or maybe just a question in general. Why do visuals matter? How have you guys seen impact in focusing on quality?
Like I said before, I would strongly encourage them to reconsider. I mean, we know that that's not the main thing, the main point. We know that. We've talked about that here. And there are some affordable options. If you maybe can't create custom graphics and have custom images. There are a lot of affordable things out there that you can do. But here's what I'd say. Do it. Try it for a month. Try it for 2 months. Give it a series and say, hey, you know what? We're going to try something new. We're going to, we know our teaching's great. Now, if your teaching's not great, we know where we need to start on focusing our attention and all that. But we're going to focus on that, and we're going to see how that goes. And then what we're going to do is let's add in that creative visuals, and we'll give it a couple months. We're going to see how kids are relating to it, and see if there's a change. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what you'll start seeing kids and how they relate to that in the service, and how that helps them, to convey the message of Jesus, to be honest.
Good. Well, man, I really appreciate your time. You guys are crushing it at Prestonwood, and your kids and student ministry. One of our guys was just with at a student conference with some of your guys and other student pastors around the country. And so just to see what you guys are doing, see how you're reaching kids and students, especially for Jesus, is encouraging. I was reminded this week of just the fact that it's a ride. Our faith can bring us ups and downs and twists and turns, and it's comforting that we have each other. It's comforting that there are other brothers and sisters in Christ around the country and around the world that are fighting just as hard to follow Jesus wholeheartedly. And you guys are that, and I see that and applaud that, and just really appreciate what you guys are doing. And man, thank you for your time here. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot, because that's what we strive for in everything we do, is with that excellence, but also sharing the gospel and communicating that well to kids. So that means the world that you would say that, man. And I just, again, appreciate my time of getting to know you and sitting down and talking about what God can do and what we want and what we're looking at and what we're expecting. And I just value and appreciate your friendship.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, ministry leader, in addition to over 40,000 pieces of original content from Church Visuals, you can also purchase producer content a la carte. So just like Amazon Prime, you can filter our library with the included in Church Visuals Plus checkbox on the filter bar in the library. Original content and content from other great producers, all at churchvisuals.com.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube for more free training for your church or ministry. All right, here's your Church Visuals tip of the week. You don't have to be a mega church to use custom visuals. I know Prestonwood is a very large church, but every church at every single level has a budget. Now, I've worked in churches of all sizes. It's a misconception that mega churches have endless cash. They don't. At every level, every church, every ministry, budget is an issue. Even huge, massive movie studios in Hollywood are always considering budget. No matter where you are, consider investing in custom graphics and video. Move from ready-made to custom if you can. It will help you laser focus your message. If you want to reach the people you want to reach for Jesus, your visuals matter. I'll see you next week. Your Visuals Matter has been a podcast presentation of Church Visuals. Executive produced by Carl Barnhill. Edited by AJ Schubert. Title and show graphics by Angie Lomas. For more resources to help you visually communicate the gospel, visit churchvisuals.com.